Your support keeps these stories alive. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
My name is Michael, and I am 38 years old. For as long as I can remember, I have lived with the unshakable feeling that no matter how much I accomplished, it would never be enough for my mother. I grew up in a modest home where money was always scarce, and while some kids dreamed of becoming athletes or rock stars, I dreamed of having stability, a roof that didn't leak, bills that were always paid, and nights where arguments about money didn't echo through thin walls. I worked my way through college, taking night shifts and weekend jobs, and eventually I built a career that allowed me to stand on my own feet. Yet, even after carving out my place in the world, I remained tethered to a family that had never truly let me go. That tether yanked hard one rainy Thursday evening. I had just gotten home after a long day at the office. My tie was still around my neck, half loosened, and I was pouring myself a glass of bourbon when my phone rang. The screen lit up with a name I could never ignore: Mom. Her voice, when I answered, was strained and quivering. She didn't even bother with greetings. She just told me to come over right away. It was urgent. She said, life or death urgent. My stomach nodded, and without asking too many questions, I grabbed my coat and drove across town in the pouring rain. That be why the time I reached her house, my nerves were on edge. I parked in a familiar driveway, still dotted with cracks and weeds that my father never fixed before he passed. The lights in the living room burned bright against the storm outside, and I could already see two figures through the curtain: my mother pacing, and my brother Kevin sitting slumped on the couch like a man waiting for his sentence to be read. Kevin is 3 years younger than me, and for most of our lives, he has been the favored son. He was reckless, charismatic, always the type to make excuses and charm his way out of trouble. While I spent my teenage years stocking shelves at the grocery store and studying until midnight, Kevin was out with friends, burning through whatever little money he could get his hands on. That pattern never changed. By the time we were adults, I was investing in my first modest apartment, while Kevin was sinking deeper into the kind of lifestyle that chews men up and spits them out. When I walked in that night, the smell of stale coffee and cigarette smoke hit me immediately. My mother turned toward me, her face pale, her hands twisting nervously. Kevin didn't look up at first, but when he did, his eyes were bloodshot and his expression hollow. "Michael," my mother said, her voice trembling, "thank God you're here. Your brother, he's in trouble. Serious trouble." I clenched my jaw, already bracing myself. What kind of trouble this time? Her eyes darted to Kevin and then back to me. Debt. Gambling debt. He owes money, Michael. A lot of money. If he doesn't pay soon, these men will come after him. They said they'd. Her voice cracked, and she covered her mouth with her hand, unable to finish. Kevin finally spoke, his voice low and shaky. "It's bad, Mike. Real bad. I thought I could fix it. I thought I'd win it back," but he trailed off, his hands trembling as he rubbed his face. That I sat down slowly, the weight of dread pressing on me. "How much are we talking about?" My mother hesitated, as though saying it out loud would summon demons into the room. Finally, she whispered, $150,000. The number hung in the air like a thunderclap. My breath caught in my chest. 150,000? That wasn't pocket change. That wasn't a mistake you could shrug off. That was a life-altering sum of money. It was more than I had saved for my entire down payment on my house. More than I had in liquid cash. It was the kind of number that ruined futures. I stared at Kevin, disbelief burning in my chest. "You lost $150,000 gambling." He wouldn't meet my eyes. He just nodded, his leg bouncing nervously. Why mother rushed in, her voice desperate. "Michael, please, you have to help. If he doesn't pay, they'll hurt him. They said they'd come here to the house if he doesn't deliver by the end of the week." For a moment, all I could do was sit there, numb. My mind flashed through images. Kevin at the poker tables, Kevin throwing dice, Kevin laughing and telling me months ago that he had a system that would make him rich. I had warned him then, begged him to stop, but he brushed me off like I was the boring older brother who didn't understand risk. And now here we were. "What exactly do you expect me to do?" I finally asked, my voice low but sharp, why mother's eyes welled with tears. "You're the only one who can help. You have a good job. You're responsible. Please, Michael, he's your brother. You can't just let him be destroyed." What kind of son, what kind of brother would turn his back at a time like this? Her words pierced deep, twisting guilt into my chest. It wasn't fair. None of this was my fault. But sitting there with my brother trembling and my mother pleading, I felt the crushing weight of responsibility being shoved onto my shoulders once again. That night was the beginning of a nightmare I never saw coming. I had no idea how far my mother's demands would go or how much I would be forced to sacrifice. But as I looked in her eyes and heard Kevin's quiet sobs, I felt the trap closing around me. And deep down, I knew this was only the start. I did not sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene in my mother's living room over and over again. The way she clasped her hands, her pleading eyes, Kevin's trembling voice as he muttered the number, $150,000. That figure echoed in my mind like a bell tolling for the dead. At T3 in the morning, I finally sat up, rubbed my face, and admitted to myself that I was being cornered. Not by some faceless loan sharks, but by my own family. My mother had always found ways to twist my sense of duty into a leash. When I was 12 years old and Kevin had broken a neighbor's window, I was the one told to mow lawns for weeks to pay for it. When I was in high school and Kevin stole money from my father's wallet, it was me who was told to apologize on his behalf. And when Kevin dropped out of college after blowing through his tuition money, guess who my mother called to cover rent so he wouldn't be on the street? Me. Always me. But this time was different. This wasn't a few $100s or a month of groceries. This was $150,000. Money that would take years to repay, money that could wipe out everything I had worked for. The next evening, I went back to my mother's house. I wanted answers. I needed to know exactly who Kevin owed and what kind of danger he was really in. When I stepped inside, Kevin was sitting at the kitchen table, hunched over with a cigarette burning in the ashtray. My mother was pacing the floor, wringing her hands. "Michael," she said quickly, rushing toward me. "Please tell me you've thought of something. We're running out of time." I held up a hand. "Not yet. First, I need details. Who exactly does Kevin owe this money to?" Kevin shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his eyes bloodshot. "Guys I met at the casino. They fronted me chips, said I could pay them back after I won. But I kept losing. They kept offering more. And then, well, it snowballed." I gritted my teeth. "So what, Kevin? These are just some backroom loan sharks? Criminals?" He nodded reluctantly. "They're not the type you say no to, Mike. They told me if I don't pay by Friday, they'll come after me. Or Mom." My stomach dropped. My first instinct was to believe it was just fear talking. But the look in his eyes told me otherwise. He was terrified that why Mother broke in, her voice rising. "Do you see now? They'll hurt him. They'll hurt me. Michael, you have to do something. You have savings, don't you? You always said you were smart with money." I clenched my fists. "Savings? Do you think I just have $150,000 sitting around waiting to bail out Kevin's mistakes? I worked for every dime I have. I have a mortgage, bills, responsibilities of my own." Her face hardened and her tone shifted. "He's your brother. Family takes care of family. What kind of man would let his own flesh and blood be destroyed while he sits in his nice house, sipping whiskey, acting superior?" The words cut deep. It was the same accusation she had thrown at me my whole life, that I was cold, unfeeling, selfish because I didn't clean up Kevin's messes with a smile. And even though I knew it wasn't true, guilt crept in. That was her power. She knew how to make me feel like the bad guy, even when I was the only one holding things together. I took a deep breath, tried to calm my pounding heart. "Let me think," I said quietly. "I'll figure something out." But the truth was, I had no idea what to do. I didn't have $150,000 in liquid cash. I had maybe $35,000 in savings, money I had built carefully over years. The rest of my worth was tied into my home, my retirement account, and my car. To pay Kevin's debt would mean selling parts of my life piece by piece, everything I had worked for. Over the next few days, the pressure only grew. My mother called me constantly, her voice sharp and desperate. "Have you found a way? Did you talk to the bank? You could take out a loan, can't you? You have good credit. They'd give it to you." Every time my phone buzzed, my chest tightened. I started dreading going home from work, knowing she'd be waiting, knowing Kevin would be slouched in her living room, looking at me like I was his lifeline. Finally, on Wednesday evening, I broke. I drove to the bank the next morning, sat down with a loan officer, and asked how much I could borrow against my house. By the end of the day, I had a promise of a loan that, combined with draining most of my savings, could cover the debt. When I told my mother, her eyes filled with tears of relief. She hugged me tightly, whispering, "I knew you'd come through. You've always been my responsible son." But as she held me, all I felt was emptiness. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't even helping my brother. I was enabling him. And somewhere deep inside, a dark thought began to grow. What happens when this isn't enough? The Friday deadline loomed like a noose tightening around my neck. I had the loan papers signed, my savings account drained, and a cashier's check ready in my hand. 38 years old, and I was about to hand over everything I had worked for. Not for myself, not for my future, but to clean up my brother's disaster. That morning, I drove to my mother's house, the weight of the check in my pocket heavier than 1,000 stones. Kevin was pacing the living room when I walked in, his hands shaking, his eyes darting around like a trapped animal. My mother rushed to me immediately, relief washing over her face the moment she saw me. "Michael, thank God," she said, clutching my arm. "Do you have it?" I didn't answer right away. I just pulled the envelope from my jacket and placed it on the table. Kevin lunged for it, but I stopped him with a glare. "Not so fast," I said sharply. "You're going to tell me exactly how this works. Who are these men? Where do we meet them? And what guarantee do I have that they'll leave you and Mom alone once this is paid?" Kevin hesitated, his lips twitching. Finally, he muttered, "They'll meet us at the diner on Maple Avenue. Tonight, 7 o'clock. I give them the money, they walk away." "That's it. That better be it," I growled. "Because if they come back for more, I swear, Kevin, I'm done." He didn't respond, just looked down at the floor. That evening, the three of us drove to the diner together. The neon lights buzzed faintly against the dark sky, casting an eerie glow on the cracked asphalt of the parking lot. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Inside, a corner booth was occupied by two men, thick-necked, sharp-eyed, the kind of men who radiated danger without needing to say a word. Kevin slid into the booth across from them, with me and my mother standing behind. One of the men eyed me curiously, then glanced at the envelope I placed on the table. "That's the full amount?" he asked in a voice smooth but menacing. $150,000, I said firmly. "Every cent. It's all there." The man smirked, opened the envelope, and thumbed through the contents. His partner leaned back, arms crossed, watching us like a hawk. After a long pause, the first man nodded. "Debt cleared." He tapped Kevin's shoulder. "Lucky for you. Your brother here loves you." And just like that, they stood, left the booth, and walked out into the night as if nothing had happened. I sat down heavily, my whole body trembling with adrenaline. My mother exhaled a shaky breath, tears brimming in her eyes. Kevin just slumped against the wall, his head in his hands. "You're safe now," my mother whispered, reaching for Kevin's hand. Then she turned to me, her expression filled with gratitude. "Michael, you saved him. You saved us." But I didn't feel like a savior. I felt like a fool. In one single act, I had destroyed years of careful planning, years of sacrifice. My savings were gone, my home was tied to a bank loan, and my brother sat there without an ounce of remorse on his face. Over the next weeks, Kevin acted as though nothing had happened. He lounged around my mother's house, watching television, laughing with friends, even asking her for spending money. Meanwhile, I tightened my belt, cutting every unnecessary expense to make sure I could cover the new loan payments. The bitterness started to fester inside me. One evening, when I stopped by to check on them, I found Kevin on the porch with a beer in his hand, laughing like he didn't have a care in the world. Something inside me snapped. "Do you even realize what I gave up for you?" I shouted, my voice shaking with anger. "Do you know how many years it will take me to recover from this? And here you are, drinking, laughing like it never happened." Kevin's smile vanished, and he looked at me with annoyance, not shame. "I didn't ask you to bail me out, Mike. You chose to do it. Don't put this on me." The words cut deeper than any knife. He was right in one sense. I had chosen. But I had chosen under the crushing weight of guilt, manipulation, and fear. And now, with nothing left to give, I wondered how long it would take before my mother or my brother found another way to pull me back into their chaos. That night, as I drove home, I realized something dark and undeniable. I had sacrificed everything, and in their eyes, it still wasn't enough. Weeks turned into months, and the weight of what I had done pressed harder on me each day. Every morning, I woke up to the reality of my empty savings account and a bank loan hanging over my head. Every evening, I came home from work to sit at my kitchen table, poring over bills, calculating payments, cutting corners wherever I could just to make it all work. Meanwhile, Kevin carried on as though nothing had ever happened. He lived at my mother's house rent-free, ate her food, used her car, and treated himself to nights out with friends. When I stopped by one Saturday to drop off some groceries, I found him laughing with buddies on the porch, a pack of beers at his feet. My blood boiled. "Kevin," I snapped, unable to hold back. "What the hell are you doing? You nearly destroyed your life, my life, and Mom's life. And here you are, wasting money you don't even have." He gave me a look of irritation, like I was interrupting his fun. "Relax, Mike. It's just a couple of beers. I'm Fine." "Fine," I shouted. "You think you're fine because I paid off your debt? You don't get it, do you? I took on a loan to save you. I'm drowning in payments because of you." Kevin rolled his eyes. "That's your choice, man. You didn't have to do it." That single sentence nearly broke me. My fists clenched, my chest heaving, and I wanted to scream in his face. But before I could, my mother stormed out of the house, her eyes blazing. "Enough," she shouted. "Michael, stop talking to your brother like that. He's been through enough already. Don't you think he feels bad?" I turned on her, my voice shaking with fury. "Feels bad? He doesn't feel anything. He's sitting here drinking and laughing while I work myself to the bone to clean up his mess. And you," I pointed at her, my voice breaking, "you don't see it. You've never seen it. You've always protected him, babied him, defended him no matter what he did. And me? I've always been the one paying the price." Her face hardened into that cold, familiar mask I knew too well. "You're being ungrateful, Michael. After everything I've done for you, how dare you talk to me like that? You wouldn't be the man you are without me. And now, when your family needs you most, you want to play the martyr? Shame on you. Ungrateful." That word hit me like a slap across the face. After sacrificing my savings, tying myself to a massive loan, watching my brother waste away his life while I carried his burden, ungrateful was what she called me. The fight escalated. My voice rose, years of pent-up resentment pouring out like a dam breaking. "I've given up everything for this family. I was 12 when you made me pay for Kevin's broken window. I was 16 when you forced me to cover for his stealing. I was 20 when I had to work extra shifts to help you pay his rent after he dropped out. And now I'm 38, and you've bled me dry for $150,000. And still, you call me ungrateful." Kevin muttered something under his breath, and that was it. I lost control. I lunged toward him, grabbing his shirt collar, my face inches from his. "You owe me your life, Kevin. Every damn breath you take right now is because I saved you. Don't you dare forget that." My mother screamed at me to let him go. I did, shoving him back into his chair, my hands trembling with rage. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. My mother's eyes burned with disappointment. Not at Kevin, but at me. "You've changed," she said coldly. "You're bitter. Selfish. Maybe I was wrong about you all along." Those words cut deeper than any wound I had ever felt. All my life, I had wanted her approval, her recognition, her love. And now, after sacrificing everything, she looked at me as though I were the villain. That night, I went home and sat in the dark, the weight of it all pressing down on me. I realized something terrifying. No matter how much I gave, no matter how much I sacrificed, it would never be enough. My mother would always see Kevin as the golden child, and me as the ungrateful one. And for the first time in my life, I began to wonder if I should cut ties completely, walk away from both of them, no matter how much it hurt. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Because with Kevin, trouble was never over. It was only waiting for the next chance to strike. I thought the worst had already passed. I thought that once the debt was paid and the shouting subsided, life would settle into some kind of uneasy balance. But with Kevin, The storm never really ended. It just circled back, stronger each time. That IT was about 4 months after I had taken the loan when I got the call again. It was late at night, nearly midnight. My phone buzzed on a nightstand, and when I saw my mother's name, my chest tightened instantly. I almost didn't answer. I was so exhausted from carrying their burdens. But a part of me still hoped it might be something different this time. Her voice was frantic. "Michael, you have to come. Kevin's in trouble again. Please hurry." I felt my heart drop, but I already knew. I knew before I even got in the car, before I pulled up to her driveway and saw him sitting on the porch, his face pale, his hands shaking, the same haunted look he wore months before. When I stepped out of the car, I didn't even bother with greetings. "How much this time?" I asked, my voice hollow. Kevin looked away. My mother answered instead. 50,000. You promised me it's the last time, Michael. Please, if you could just, I laughed. A cold, bitter laugh that startled even me. 50,000? Do you think I'm some kind of endless bank? Do you think I could just snap my fingers and make that money appear? I'm already drowning in debt because of him. I gave up my savings, tied my house to a loan, and for what? So he could go back to the tables. Kevin tried to speak, but I cut him off, fury burning in my chest. Do you realize what I sacrificed for you, Kevin? Do you realize I've been eating canned soup for weeks, skipping dinners, working overtime just to keep up with the payments? And you go right back and gamble again. My mother stepped in, her voice rising in defense. He has a problem, Michael. He needs help, not your anger. You're his brother. You should stand by him. That was it. Something inside me finally snapped. I turned to her, years of buried pain exploding out of me. Stand by him? I've been standing by him my entire life. Every mistake, every debt, every crime. Who was the one cleaning it up? Me. When he broke the neighbor's window, it was me who worked to pay for it. When he stole from Dad, it was me who took the blame. When he dropped out of school, it was me who covered his rent. And when he gambled away $150,000, it was me who sold my future to save him. And now you dare call me ungrateful? My voice cracked, but I didn't stop. You never once stood by me. You never once looked at what I built, what I achieved, and said you were proud. No, you always save your love, your pity, your loyalty for Kevin. And you use me like a tool, a wallet, a shield, a servant, but never a son. The silence that followed was suffocating. Kevin stared at the ground, his face pale, his lips pressed tight. My mother's eyes glistened with tears, but not the kind I had hoped for. They weren't tears of realization or guilt or apology. They were tears of anger. You're heartless, she whispered. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By turning your back on family. I shook my head slowly. No, Mom, this isn't about family. This is about survival. And if I don't walk away now, you'll take everything I have left until there's nothing of me left at all. I turned to Kevin, my voice cold and final. You want another 50,000? Find it yourself. Sell your car. Sell your things. Face the men you owe. But don't come to me. I'm done. With that, I walked away. My mother called after me, her voice shrill, filled with venom, but I didn't turn back. For the first time in my life, I ignored her demands. For the first time, I chose myself. That night, I drove home through empty streets, my hands shaking on the wheel, my eyes burning with unshed tears. It felt like tearing out a part of myself, walking away from them. But deep down, I knew it was the only way. And as I sat alone in my dark kitchen, staring at the pile of bills still waiting for me, I whispered to myself, almost like a vow. I may have lost my family. I may have lost my savings, my peace, even my mother's love. But I will not lose myself. Not anymore. That was the night I stopped being their safety net. That was the night I finally chose freedom.